Hey guys, hope you're doing well. This marks 1 year that Ryan and I have owned this property together, and a little bit over a year that we've had this channel. We started the channel as we were just looking for land, but it's been an amazing year. We've learned a lot about where we want to take the property, what it's going to take to get there, but also learned a lot about each other, and we're making some great memories. When we first started the channel, he and I each put out a little 3-minute video giving a kind of high-level overview of our situation. If I can figure out how, I'll put links to those videos here. Either way, though, I'll put it down in the description. Now that it's been a year, we have some more viewers that may not be quite aware of how Ryan and I got here. I want to go back over that. So I was put up for adoption at birth. My biological parents were young and just not in a position to care for me. So I was adopted by a wonderful family. Had a normally family situation growing up. I had a younger sister, also adopted. My parents got divorced when I was young. Me, my mom, and my sister moved to another city, so there was that whole dynamic of, you know, sharing and going back and forth. And anyway, there was a lot of challenges there, but I want to go ahead and spring forward to where I found out about Ryan. So I was almost 30 years old when I found out that I had full-blooded siblings. And I'm going to keep this on Ryan and I, but we also have a sister who's wonderful and so much alike us, it's incredible. We have a great relationship. But I want to keep this on me and Ryan, since it's that's what the site's about, our channel's about. So I had, at the time when I found him, I was about 28. I had just moved to New York City, and I was unpacking some things, and I came across paperwork that if I filled it out and sent it in, I'd be put on the registry, the adoption registry, to where if one of my birth parents were looking for me, there'd be a match. Now that paperwork I had actually requested when I turned 18, which was the youngest I could do it at the time. But I never sent it in, and the reason I never sent it in was one of my adoptive parents, I think, would have taken it personally if they would have discovered that I was looking for my birth family. And I just didn't want them to go through that. So I just sat on the paperwork for 10 years. And here I accidentally came across it as I was unpacking. So called them up. This is before email, and the internet was just in its infancy. Called them up and I said, hey, is this paperwork good? Do I need to request anything else? And the lady on the line, I mentioned this in that other video, she had so much enthusiasm, was so pumped when I told her who I was. She goes, yes, just go ahead and send it in, we'll take care of it. I'm like, great, so sent it in. Still hadn't even started my new job yet. Sent it in, and then about 10 days later, I hadn't heard back. And I was antsy, even though I knew the odds of there being a match were very thin. So I'm at work, right, because it's business hours when I can call. I called her up, got the same woman, and she, in her voice, it almost seemed like she was jumping up out of her chair. Yes, Devin, we got your paperwork, and there's a match. And I'm like, man, the blood just drained out of my face. I felt tingly. And she goes, it's your father looking for you. And the fact that there was a match was a surprise. The fact that it was my father was just beyond what I had thought possible. And she continued on. I don't even think I've said anything yet. She's like, and several years after you were born, your parents got back together and married each other. And, now I'm stunned. I can't even believe I can still hear what she's saying. And you've got a full-blooded brother and sister. Keep in mind, I've had almost 30 years of imagining what they may be like, fantasizing about maybe, meeting them. Never in all those years had I ever once considered that they ended up marrying each other and that they had 2 more kids, full-blooded siblings. Tingly right now thinking about it. Just incredible. So, the way that the registry works is once there's a match, the parent and the child each has to send each other, I think it's 2 letters, and you have to send them through the agency. And you're not allowed to put your last name, not allowed to put the city you live in. But you can include pictures, you can tell about other family members, just no last names, no city. They don't want you being able to connect. And you send that through the agency. I'm sure they read over it, make sure you're abiding by the rules, and they forward it on. So this is a lengthy, this takes a while. Did that twice. And then you have to do an hour session with a counselor to make sure that you're sane enough to handle the reunion. Did that, and then what they would do is they would then, still through the mail, would send you contact info. So full name, address, and phone number. Well, the agency and my father were both in Texas, so he got his letter before I did. And I remember coming home from work. I'd been out after work with some friends. It was a Thursday. I don't remember why I remember that. I get in and I hit this with the answering machine age. I hit the answering machine, it rewinds the cassette, starts playing. Devin, this is your dad. This deep booming voice. I love you. Give me a call. Can't wait to talk to you. Click. And I'm still in my suit. I mean, just floored, and just reached for the phone and called him. I still didn't even take out my jacket or my tie. And man, we talked for a couple of hours, and it was just awesome. And then of course, I asked about, okay, how about, my mother, siblings, what's the situation, what's going on here? He's like, well, we got divorced. The kids live with her in a different town. He goes, I'm not sure if the kids know about you. I'm like, oh no. So yada, yada, yada. He gave me her phone number. He helped facilitate a time to call her when the kids weren't going to be there. Or at least that's what I thought. First time that we spoke, though, it was my mother and my sister. And I don't think we were using a speakerphone. I think we were, they were handing the phone back and forth. But it was awesome. We talked for about an hour, and she said, I haven't told Ryan yet about you. And, Ryan would be, I think, right about 16 years old, or just about to turn 16. And when she said that, man, that freaked me out. I pictured myself if my mom would have dropped that bomb on me, how I would have handled it. And I would not have handled it well. Now, at that age, at 16, I was kind of spinning my wheels. I was getting in trouble at school. I was not in a great place in my life. I would have had animosity towards my parents. I would have been anger. I would have been scared. I was selfish. I was a selfish child. I'm still selfish, I'm sure. And I would have thought, great, this kid's going to come in out of nowhere and, take away time and love that should be mine. I mean, selfish as that sounds, that's just what was going through my mind, trying to put myself in his shoes. So now she's like, all right, let me call him, and then I'll call you back here in the next few days. Great. She calls, goes, okay, I have Ryan here. He's he's ready to talk to you. I'm like, great. So she hands the phone to him. I'm like, hey, Ryan, it's good to meet you. How are you? Good. And it was, it was awkward. It didn't flow as well as with everyone else, but he was 16, and man, he handled it, like a champ. And his first question was, he asked me, do you have facial hair? That was the first question for me. That's so great. But then as the days went by and he and I talked more, we read the same books, and man, he was both parents, both siblings, just unselfish, full of joy and love to give, and I'm getting choked up. And they just handled it so well. The heck, crying out in the field of buckwheat. But it was awesome. And it's only gotten better. And the relationship that all of us have built is just, it's so early on. It was just felt natural. So after talking with him, now it's time to meet. Stay with me. Okay. So, fast forward, it's time to meet him now. Plan is I fly down to Texas. Our father lives in East Texas. Fly down, meet him, spend several days. and then take his car and drive and meet everybody else. So fly in, then we have to drive over an hour to get to his house. And man, we're talking, and we listen to the same music, so we're singing together. I mean, it just felt so natural. It was just bizarre. I mean, really amazing. So we get there, it was him and me, his parents, so my grandparents on his side, his sister, his soon-to-be new wife. It was just awesome. I mean, meeting the grandparents was just, and the stories, sorry. Just awesome. All right, so then drive to go to our mother's house. So I remember when I first pull up, our sister's walking across the front yard, and she's got a big casserole dish, a big welcoming home party's about to go on, and I climb out, and I got box of photographs to show them of when I was younger and everything, and walk up to her, and it was just kind of physically awkward, because our hands were full. But get inside, had aunt, uncle, bunch of cousins, grandparents were there once again. It was just it was powerful stuff, but immediately felt comfortable. Gosh, it was just, and since then it's just become more comfortable very quickly. And it's, everybody will say this, all the members of the family, that very quickly it just seemed and felt like we had always been together. Really really amazing. It's been storybook, and it's been flawless. And getting to meet the grandparents before they passed on was amazing. Everybody was still in good health at that point, and that was a blessing. I wish I would have spent more time with them and asked more questions. Man, the questions I have now for the grandparents. So that's my take on meeting Ryan, my brother, and creating this relationship, which led to buying property together and making new memories. And Ryan, he said it right when we first bought this. He's like, this is like two brothers when they're young and growing up together, and they go out and they build a fort together in the woods, or a tree house. This is like our tree house, our fort that we never got to build. Growing up. So good stuff. Anyway, hope you found that interesting. It was it was good for me to put it into words. Hadn't talked about it in a while. Man, it's just amazing. Heck of a ride. So thanks a lot. Stay with us. Please give it a thumbs up if you made it this far. Thanks a lot, guys.